Hello. Today we're going to be doing a very chaotic van build tour in progress, which people have kind of been asking me for. It's going to be very low res because I'm going to do a real one probably in the next week or two when I finish the draft of the van, but things are looking really good. As you can see, I finished my ceiling, got some pine boards in there. I started with just regular old common pine, and then I put some black walnut over it. This is actually the second time I did it because the first time it was way too dark. As you can see, like up in the ceiling, things can get shadowy. So it looked really cool the first time, but like if we look at the other side of the band, when there's no lighting on it, it becomes like an abyss. It makes it about twice as dark as the boards are in reality. So I cut all of the stain and the finish off with a a table saw, and and then I had to restain and then do the layers of tongue over again. But it looks really, really nice. I'm really happy with it. It bounces some nice light off of the ceiling, and it's going to contrast really well with the bookcase here, which is darker. And speaking of the bookcase, that's coming together as well. It's looking really cool. I went with this sort of like double thick columns and then inch shelves, which are a little bit more chunky. And I did the double because this is actually, it's a sliding hidden bookcase door. I got this idea from the original Batman series, like the really goofy 1960s one. Batman has this like sort of figurehead thing on his desk, and when he flips it up and presses the button, the door opens up, and then he's got like a pole to slide down into the Batcave. I don't have any poles, unfortunately, but it's going to be really cool. It'll look even cooler when there are actually books on it, but I used a couple of CNC tracks, which I didn't even know that was an option, but I was trying to figure out a slider, and they work really well. They're like in here, they're just super smooth. They've got ball bearings and everything. So the way it's going to work is that this whole wall is going to be a massive bookcase, and then this is sort of me like dead space here, and then over here eventually, I'm not doing this now, but there'll be the kitchen cabinets that run to about here. So the section of the bookcase that's here is kind of in the way, right? So what's going to happen is that I'm going to put drawer slides over here, and then that section is going to come out here. So it's like sort of a two-step thing, but I can leave that out if I'm going like in and out of the van, and I don't want to bother with it. But yeah, that's going to come out, and then this will go behind the kitchen cabinet up to here, and then the other section will have moved out, obviously. But it is really cold in New York right now. It's about 20 degrees out, I think. But we've got the wood stove going. It's pretty dark in here, but you can see the embers. It is really cozy. I think it's around, see how warm it is in the van. Holy hell! It's like, I don't know if you can see it, but it's like, yeah, it's 80 degrees, but that's only near the stove. Obviously, it's probably, I don't know, 60 or so when you move away, like over here. But yeah, just have a light jacket. I'm pretty good. I've got this Simply Merino top on, and then a smart wool under that. It's honestly overkill right now, but as long as you dress warm, a tiny wood stove can keep you warm. And the nights have been a bit hard because you have to wake up a lot, to probably around 3 or 4 times to rekindle the fire. Part of it is that I don't have really high quality logs. I got like an assortment, and so there's a lot of ash in there, and ash burns super fast. I think this might be ash, not sure, but it's not super dense, not super heavy. So I think the next time I get wood, which it seems like a cord is going to last me about half of the year or half of the winter, I'm just going to get like all cherry, all something super dense and pay a little bit more for it. But get the win and not having to wake up. Because I think if I have better logs, I can probably make it, maybe only rekindling the fire once. And it's not a big deal. Like, essentially, I just wake up and I take a couple logs, just open up the fire, put them in, go back to sleep. And it honestly takes about 15 seconds. So it's been working fine for me. What else? I still need to finish the upper cabinets, paint them. I'm going to put one over, a shorter one over there as well. I need to do covers for wooden covers for the fans. I'm just basically going to show the inner part of the fan so you don't see the white stuff and it'll look cleaner. I see a lot of people put the plastic trim on the outside, so like they would put it up around there, and it's really ugly, and it kind of ruins the beautiful wood ceilings that a lot of people have, so I don't want to do that. We're going to do something nicer, and this has been kind of the theme of the van build. This is why it's taken 2 years so far. I mean, there are other reasons too. Money would be a big one, but when I started the van build, I just wanted to do everything right. I for a lot of my life, I have been doing things the shortcut way, and the shortcut way has not worked out well for me. So that was my promise to myself, that I just want to do everything as well as I possibly could, not cut corners, not go cheap with things, and I've been really happy with it so far. As far as YouTubing, you can see the van is just an absolute mess, so it's really frustrating. I've not been able to film consistently in here because every time I clean the van up, it just becomes chaos again. I've got like pieces of wood, and I've got like books that I'm using to test the bookshelf, half-finished shelves that I have to move around, and backpacks and cords and all kinds of stuff that I haven't developed an organizational system for yet. So that sucks, but I got this light, which is going to be part of my new YouTube setup. It's really cool. It's I don't know if there's enough light to see around back here. It's kind of dark, but it's a old Ari light. It's incandescent. It's takes a huge tungsten bulb, so it's super hot. But it looks much nicer than LED. It just has this really soft glow. I do need to get a little filter for it so it's not so warm, just like or actually technically speaking, it's raised the color temperature up to more of a neutral look, but it is nice. And the softbox, this is like a used one that I found. I used the money from my other larger softbox that I have been using for the past 2 years, and the LED light to get these two things. They're pretty good deal. You can get a lot of old used film equipment for very little money. So I actually ended up getting money back from selling my stuff. But anyways, I need to get some kind of mount for it too. I don't know, I was thinking having like a slider on the underside of the thing so that I could mount the light and then just like slide it back and forth, and maybe put one over there too. That would be super cool, because as a filmmaker, one of the most annoying things is having to set up your lighting if you don't have a permanent setup, and it just takes time, and it's frustrating, and it just like drains your motivation to want to make videos. So that'll be really cool. But there's not going to be too much else that I'm going to do other than the bookcase, and the ceiling is essentially done other than the fan covers. It'll be nice to get some like doors on the upper cabinets, because right now I have this like janky piece of wood clipped into place to prevent things from falling out when I drive, but sometimes they fall out nonetheless. But yeah, I mean, making a ton of progress every day. Things have been not so good with my dad in particular. He can't even walk right now because he has this super swollen ankle. Could be Lyme disease, could be gout, could be arthritis, could be all of the above, could be unhealthy diet because he can't afford to eat better, all that stuff. So this has been the theme with me, for the past few years, is ever since I started improving my life, like my life keeps going like up and up and up, but then the people around me are just stuck. I think the worst part about it is that my dad doesn't have a plan. There's really nothing worse than a depressed person who has no plan for getting themselves out of depression and poverty, and it's not his fault, like he didn't really grow up with YouTube and things like I did, where I can just learn everything that I need to learn to build this van, to learn how to become a filmmaker and all that stuff. And he never had that. And a lot of people in that generation, the boomer generation, didn't have those types of resources. So yeah, as terrible as YouTube is and social media in general, it can definitely be a really cool tool on the internet in general for learning how to do things. But yeah, let's get back to the tour. I've got a air purifier here, which is important for having a wood stove because it keeps the ash out of the air. And then in the back, I have the lights pointed in the wrong direction now. I don't know if we can get it to sit properly. This is not working. See, yeah, I need a stand for this. This is my life right now. I'm just trying to like balance things and it's not working, but whatever. I think that gives us enough light. This is walnut desk that my dad made for me a few years ago. I've been in love with this thing. It's so beautiful, and I was worried that the pine and the walnut stain weren't going to match it, but I think they match it really well. They picked up some of that, like, I use black walnut stain, so I think that's something that helps. But anyways, I've done so much filming in this corner right here with the black Yamaha speaker, HS80, and a window, and it's translated really well from going to the bedroom in my mom's house to going into my own van. I kind of have like the same setup. There's my e-ink monitor. It is broken. I'm gonna have to save up $1,000 to get a refurbished one because the company books won't even fix it. But fortunately, they do have a refurbished one. It looks, I don't know, it looks really sketchy. There's a lot of damage to it, but that's kind of the only option because there's literally not another e-ink monitor in the entire world. Or at least I think there's like one new one, but I can't afford $2,000 right now. What else? Yeah, we've got the windows. The windows I really love. The two big back windows. We've got the large cargo window, and then I've got, this is called the bug wall. It's a really cool magnetic bug wall. It's just kind of self-explanatory, but I actually leave it up in the winter because when it gets warm, the bugs come out and they actually can get in through the cracks in the cargo door, which is really annoying. So the screen prevents them from getting into the van, and it does a really good job of that, which is important for things like stink bugs, which I absolutely do not want in the van. What else? I think this is really cool here. I cut the hole in the ceiling boards for the stove to go up into, and that looks awesome. Some people put like a silver trim around here for, I don't know, heat protection, whatever, but it's unnecessary. Like this right here is, I can just put my hand on it. It's nowhere near hot enough to light wood on fire. And this is another thing, like technically you're supposed to have 2 inches between this and anything flammable, but again, like the stove is going the hottest that it basically ever is right now, and yeah, there's just not enough heat to ever catch anything on fire. So yeah, I mean, I guess if I did insurance and it wasn't up to spec and somehow the van caught on fire, I guess I could not get paid, but I think it looks better than having this stupid 2-inch gap that's completely unnecessary. Yeah, I think that would look really weird. But, yeah. What else? Oh, typewriter. This will be cool. It'll be like a little analog work desk here. And then we've got, in the dark over, you can't really see it because there's no light, but this is for my barefoot shoes. And then I've got my bed here, which is a major problem right now because it's a pain in the ass. It's a 3-inch futon, so it's about this thick. It's wool, which is awesome. And it does fold up into thirds, so my idea eventually is that I'm going to have like a box that'll be on the same type of slider track as this thing is. And so I'll be able to like slide the box forward, and then I'll just fold the bed up during the day, put it into the box, slide it back out of the way, and that should be pretty easy. Right now, I've just been leaving it, on the floor, and it's kind of nice because it creates a little insulation for, working in here, sitting during the day. But yeah, I've got some wool blankets. That's how I'm staying warm. I've got 3. Yeah, and then I've got some linen for my sheets, which I love. Linen is super comfortable. Actually, we have to feed the fire here because I think it's going to go out if I keep talking and I forget to do it. So here we go. I've got a little ashtray here. I just kind of like sit that under so that the sparks don't fall off because they can. I don't think it's super dangerous in the sense of like lighting things on fire, because what usually happens is that the little things just sit there and smolder. I think you'd have to have like a pile of paper, under your stove to catch things on fire, but still, it is important to have these backups and safety redundancies just to make sure. But anyways, just open the stove up, kind of push the embers down, put a couple new logs on with the tongs here so I don't light myself on fire. And there we go. That's it. That's all you have to do to feed a fire. I love having a tiny wood stove. I'm just so glad that I went with this over propane, because it's just magical. It makes me happy. It's just, it's a little bigger than propane stoves are, which I like because as a filmmaker or just someone who generally enjoys like having cool stuff around me, I think it's just more aesthetically interesting, and it's fun to watch the flames too when they get going. But yeah, I think that's my van. The only other real thing that we didn't cover is it's kind of hard to see because I've got so much stuff everywhere. But this area here is going to be log storage eventually, and there's also, it's hard to see because of the bed, but down there, and then that last one there is also log storage. So I'll be able to go, like a good 3 to 5 days if I want to travel somewhere in the winter and it's going to be cold and I need logs. So that's pretty cool. I like that it's not like propane where you don't have to go somewhere to get propane, like a special fill station. You can just stop by the road if someone's got logs out and buy a little quart of logs for $5 or whatever, you're good to go. I mean, you can even cut it down if you have land, or if you're out in the wilderness somewhere and there's some dead dry trees. It's awesome. It feels very post-apocalyptic, very practical, and it's cheap too. It has been really cold, so I was hoping that I could get through the whole winter with 1 quart of wood, but probably I'll end up using 2. And I think part of that is because I went with the cheap stuff, the mixed bag, and there's lots of ash, like I said. So it's burning through a lot faster than I think higher quality wood would burn through. But yeah, last thing, I've got a sewing machine here, which I'm excited to use once I have time again. I sewed my sheets. I've sewed some window covers. Actually, I'll show you that. I have a window cover. It's not actually done yet because I need more wool to fill it with, but it's linen on the outside that touches the window, so kind of like light and breathable, then wool in the mid layer, and then canvas on the outside for a little bit of durability and structure, and then I just kind of like pin that up to the window at night to keep the air from pouring in, because that's one of the places where it was really cold. But people have always asked me like why I would want a full bookcase in a van, because it seems kind of impractical, but there are kind of like three reasons. The main, well, I don't know if it's the main, but one of the reasons is that I'm a filmmaker, so I need an interesting background. And not only does it look nice to have a bookcase behind you, but it kind of says like this person is knowledgeable. This person has done a lot of research. They have a lot of experience, and I make health guides and barefoot guides, and so that's important. It's important for people to know that I've done my research. So that's one thing. Another thing is that I would need a wall here anyways, and the books actually will serve as some pretty good insulation because most of the books are anywhere from 7 to 11 inches deep. So I could have put lots of layers of wool, which would have also been expensive and taken up space, but instead I can have the books, and they'll work, pretty well. Not as well as wool, but and then third, obviously, is the door. Pretty much everyone has a door into their cabin, and if you don't, it's really annoying because then you have to go out the cargo door, which is in the winter, it lets a ton of cold air in, so that would be really inefficient. And I don't know, for security reasons, it's nice to have multiple ways to get out of your van. If I don't know, if there's a fire, or if I don't know, someone was attacking you or trying to get into the van or whatever, or you need to drive away really quickly and not have to go outside. So for all those reasons, I think it's actually really practical, even though it's kind of an unusual thing to have in a van. But yeah, that's what's going on with me. Um, I'm really looking forward to getting back to YouTubing and making my videos because my life has just been like, just chaos for the last 2 years, and especially this year once I finally moved into the van, because I really didn't want to stay in my mom's house anymore. Um, so yeah, it'll be really nice to be able to get into a routine and not have things be total chaos and messy, and get back to making more money because that's also been really hard this year. I've taken a lot of hits from things like the tariffs and whatever, but also just not being able to make videos and not having a space that looks good to make videos in. That's been really hard. So it'll be nice just to like get things settled again, get into a routine. And yeah, I'm excited. Things are moving in the right direction.